Hello everyone, welcome to the Mint analysis for 9th March 2022. Before going ahead, just wanted to say that I have already shared the text analysis of today's Mint newspaper, and you can access it by joining my Telegram group. The link will be in description. So the highlight for today is about Russia-Ukraine war and how it is impacting the food and farming market. So the first thing is that India is very much dependent on the imports of edible oil and fertilizers. So because of which the consumers will now see a increase in price due to it. And this is a chain. For example, the crude prices will rise, because of which the shipping cost will rise, and it will impact the fertilizer because we are going to import it. And if the fertilizer cost rises, then it will impact the crops, the cost of sowing crops. And since we already have a planting season ahead, which is Kharif season, so the impact on the prices will be even larger. So this is the threat that we are facing. And also the third thing is that India in this situation, although it has the reserves, but it might have to, export the wheat, because of which the supply will be lesser in the domestic country. And further, we can see a double digit inflation. And further, we will be able to see a double digit inflation in our country. Next is, due to this, the farmers can expect a price rise, which means that the prices of these crops will be at a premium to minimum support prices. And we have already seen this in the case of mustard prices, which is traded 40% higher than its MSP. So the effect can already be seen here. Next is, how can government take steps? Which steps can government take? So the most important thing that government can do is that it can restrict the exports so that we are able to fulfill our domestic needs first. Now, apart from this, there was one more factor that we missed. So, because of the fertilizer prices and the shipping cost and the higher crude prices. So, fertilizer prices and shipping cost, keeping aside those two things, the crude prices, since crude prices are going up, the people might now shift to producing biofuels, because of which more food crops will be utilized in that, and due to which the crop prices can rise. Next main news is Amazon Future RIL JV option on the table. So it is being said that since there was a decision by the court that you have to reach a proposal and you have to share your proposal with us, that what you are thinking of doing in the upcoming future. So there are some proposals we will be discussing. First is that they can have a JV option. So they can have a joint venture option, all three firms. The other option is, one of the options that they have on table is that Amazon can fund it. So Amazon will be funding $2 billion into future growth. That is the second option. And if just to give you a background, why these things are taking place, it's because Future Retail owed some money to its lenders, which amounted to around $3 billion, and now these lenders want their money back. And on the first step itself, Future Retail wanted to let it go to RIL so that it can be handled, the situation can be handled. But Amazon stepped in and he said that I have already have some share of Future Coupon, and since Future Retail is a subsidiary of Future Coupon, that's why Future Retail cannot sell itself to RIL, because Amazon also deals in retail and now RIL is also going to deal in retail. So it will be a conflict of interest, because of which the issue was raised. And now finally these are some proposals they are considering and they have to submit it before 15 March. Next is, did shareholders want all three resolution? So we were seeing that there was an AGM, annual general meeting, which was conducted by Dish TV on 30 December, and they hadn't released the results. And why so? Maybe because there were some important proposals that were going to be rose in that meeting, and all three proposals were rejected by the shareholders. And those three proposals were about the financial statement, about the appointment of director Ashok Kurian, and third was about the remuneration to the cost auditor. So these three were the proposals that were discussed, and they were rejected by the shareholders. And then when the results were not made public, Yes Bank and other such companies raised the concern, and they reached out to the court saying that we want the results. Next is 77,000 crore IPOs on hold as Ukraine crisis roils market. So there were some IPOs that were going to be launched in 2022, consisting of Pharmacy, LIC, MobiQuick, and many more. So because of which the total IPO amount stood at 77,000 crore. But now they are considering to delay their decision, and the reasons are quite obvious, which are because of liquidity and uncertainty due to Ukraine crisis. Next is task force considering steps to soften impact of fuel hike. So here a task force of senior government officials has been formed, and they will be supervising various sectors and giving the recommendation to the government on how they can actually solve these things. And the major two concerns that they have right now is to provide a solution for the payment channels. So as we know about SWIFT sanctions and how they have hit the financial transactions, so because of which the payments are not being able to get released, and RBI was saying that it will now reach out to local banks which do not come under SWIFT sanctions, and then they might have their payments back through those local banks. So this was the first concern, and they will be recommending some solution for this. Second is about the crude oil prices. So since crude oil prices are on a rise, so they will be reaching out to a solution. They will be recommending about how we can handle this situation. And apart from this, there are some other sectors as well. So the main sectors consist of oil, defense, energy, fertilizer, trade in goods. And why they are a highlight? Because we had most of the linkages to Russia in these sectors. So we used to have imports and exports, because of which now these sectors will be able to be will need to be supervised. And what steps can government take to reduce the pressure and to control the inflation? So it is said that finance ministry can cut the excise duty and reduce VAT as a temporary measure. So these are the things. Next is railways to float 35,000 crore global Vivian tender in quarter one. So it is being said that railways now will float a tender, so that it will have a lot of impact. So the first impact will be manufacture on the manufacturing companies. So the manufacturing companies that will be manufacturing vegan, so they will be able to utilize their capacity and reduce. It will also be able to reduce the cost. So that will be the first impact. And second impact will be that there are some dedicated freight corridors that have been built, and now railways will be able to utilize them. And also, it's just a small fact that this will be done through reverse auction. And in reverse auction, what happens is that the sellers bid about the prices, they are ready to take the project at. So, since government wants a service, it will just issue a tender, and now sellers will come and say that we will be providing you this service at this much cost, and whoever will have the lowest will win. So this is how generally things takes place when it has to do with the government sector, when the tenders are issued. And also, apart from this, you can have another perspective towards this news. So you have seen that how government is giving push to PM Gati Shakti. So they are investing heavily on infrastructure, because of which we are able to reduce our deficits, because it's a capital expenditure, it will generate revenue for the nation. So here as well, you can see that they are incurring the expenditure on the capital. So capital expenditure will go up, it will provide employment, and further on, it will reduce our deficit because revenues will be enhanced, they will rise. Next is about MobiQuick. So MobiQuick expects revenue to grow twofold this fiscal. So they are expecting a rise in their revenue, and little about their background. So how are their revenues spread across different segments? So their consumer payments consists of 70% of the revenue, and buy now pay later consists of 20%, and gateway of 10%. So it's just you can see that how they have diversified their services, and maybe because of that they will be more profitable. Unlike Paytm, so Paytm wanted to diversify into so many segments and even without having license in one of them, which is their lending business. So this is, I think, is a sustainable plan. Next is their IPO, which was going to be there in 2022. They might delay it because of the liquidity and Ukraine crisis. Next is Shell will not buy Russian oil. So there are some sanctions on Russia, because of which now Shell will also not buy Russian oil. They are boycotting them, and they will also shut down its services in Russia. And Shell is not the only company. BP PLC and ExxonMobil Corporation are some of the other who are boycotting the Russia. And also you have seen that ExxonMobil Corporation, they held 30% stakes in one of the leading oil manufacturing company there, and they are really reconsidering moving out of that because they don't want to incur losses on their investment. Next is Limai says no to second term. So this news was already there that now the current CEO of NSE had the option to stand for the next 5 term election, but he says that I will not be participating in that, and the reasons being obvious because of the certain issues that NSE has faced, including co-location case and disruption in the market in last year in February, and then 2 days back the market prices were not being shown on the website. So there were certain issues with NSE, and you have also seen that NSE wanted to go for an IPO, which was initiated in 2016, but there has not been much of progress, and it might, raise concern. And CBI probe is also a problem, so it might not have a nod by SEBI yet. Next is India set to restart scheduled international flights from 27 March. So aviation industry, hotel industry, tourism industry, they all are optimistic. And now we are talking about aviation industry here. So rising fuel prices is their one of the concern, and because of which they are trying to handle their demand as well as trying to reduce their cost. Also, right now, international flights are being opened up, but it will be under a air bubble pact. So, air bubble pact is where two countries reach into agreement that they can, fly their international flights in the other country's territory. So, for example, India can operate their flights in US territory, and US ones can do the same in Indian ones. And right now, around there are around 20 countries with which India have air bubble pact. Next is restaurant startups to raise capital as private equity interest revives. So after the pandemic, since the restrictions are being lifted up, the restaurants are optimistic. They want to invest more, they want to expand, they want to grow, because of which private equity are also interested because they don't see any threat right now, and because of which there are some firms which are going to hit the market soon. So among them there are two of them, Absolute Barbecue, which wants to raise $25 to 30 million, and Biryani by Kilo, which is eyeing 40 to 60 million fundraise for domestic as well as global expansion. Next is Equanimity launches larger second fund. So this fund is actually being launched so that it can invest into EV companies, electric vehicle companies. So it's again just a trend of how where they are seeing the growth. So that's a trend. Next is Indian space sector may see increased interest from global clients. So it is being said that since we had some sanctions on Russia, so Russia is now saying that there were certain projects that it has undertaken, and global clients used to reach out to them that they want to have these satellite in the space. So they used to reach out to Russia, but now Russia is saying that you have imposed sanctions on us. Now we are not going to cater to you. We won't be doing that. So because of which Indian space sector might gain because of it, because now these global clients will reach out to India and you will be using Indian space sector. Next is Google to buy cybersecurity firm Mandiant for $55.4 billion. So it's just again a move that Google is buying it so that it can protect its cloud clients by responding quickly to online threats. Next is about Titan. So Titan looks to buy Noise, which is a company in wearables market push. So Titan is currently buying Noise because it has seen that there is a market for smartwatches, and these products are being provided by Noise. So instead of incurring all the research and development cost, creating a market, etc., it is just going to purchase Noise so that it can increase its revenues. Next is about real estate. So I just wanted to highlight it here that the real estate industry has seen less impact due to COVID. And why is it so? Because the interest rates were low because of the liquidity. So government wanted to have some liquidity in the market, because of which the interest rates were low. And now whenever we are going to buy a house, since interest rates are low, we can have loans at a lower interest and can buy our house, because of which the real estate industry faced less impact and the demand were almost stable. But right now, demand and supply are almost equal, they are stable. But still, we will be able to see a marginal increase in the price because there will be higher labor cost and material cost in this sector. So, this is what we can expect. This is all we have in today's newspaper. If it has helped you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. You can also find my Telegram group link in the description.